Welcome to Seeking Tranquility in France. This is John. I'm going to be reading my essay, My Favorite Bilingual and Trilingual Dictionaries. Really. There are many types of dictionaries to meet the varied needs of language learners. I've always enjoyed learning languages. As children, my siblings and I had to learn French, at least up to a point. Later, French classes in school were a boring and repetitive chore, and I hated them, until finally in high school we started reading books, which got me engaged. We also had to respond to essay questions in French on examinations and homework assignments, so having a bilingual dictionary became indispensable. At university, I discovered that the library held an extraordinary range of language dictionaries, monolingual as well as bilingual, that were essential for some of the challenging reading assignments we received. I bought myself several serious dictionaries before graduations, as well as a couple pocket dictionaries for on the go, but I always found them challenging to use. Some words have several meanings depending on context, and the meaning can change when used figuratively or in an idiomatic expression. I would scan the various numbered meanings to find the one that fit. This worked well when reading or trying to understand a recorded text, but when writing, things felt more hit or miss. I'm sure some of the things I wrote at the time must have been hilarious to my teachers. Dictionaries can also be useful in understanding which prepositions to use with which verbs, something that easily trips up beginning language learners. But they might not be so helpful with the actual spoken or written language, where changes of tense, number, mood, or voice mutate the form of the verb. So, tools such as the Becherel Conjugaison volumes for French, or Le Figaro's online Le Conjugueur, are an indispensable adjunct to even the best dictionaries. And in some languages, certain verbs are associated with changes of case with nouns, pronouns, and adjectives. For example, eines guten Mannes, German for of a good man, here showing declensions in the genitive case. Some dictionaries can also be useful in this context, but this is a place where understanding the grammar of a language kicks in. Moving to Germany in the late 1970s was a test of my linguistic adaptability, even after 2 years of college German and 4 weeks of intensive study at the Goethe Institute. Although I had become capable in day-to-day language, other than the somewhat opaque Bavarian Mundart or dialect that I heard when working in Munich, writing always left me feeling insecure. I'd post letters that took 2 hours to write, still worrying that I might sound like some kind of nincompoop. No surprise that I'd find myself in the wonderful Munich bookstores standing in the reference section, eyeing the language materials. Particularly striking was the series of dictionaries published by Duden called Deutsche Sprache in 12 Bänden, German language in 12 volumes. It was a virtual linguistic rainbow, with colorfully bound volumes dedicated to Rechtschreibung, spelling or orthography, conventional word meanings, words borrowed from other languages, grammar and etymology, and much more. My book budget was almost non-existent. My academic stipend was insufficient, and my income from work at Munich's Großmarkthalle and the Hotel für Jahreszeiten left little room for discretionary spending. 2 volumes, though, were irresistible. The first was the Stilwörterbuch, a dictionary of style, that is, a guide to the usage of German vocabulary. I don't think I've ever written more than a couple paragraphs in German without consulting this volume, which gives extensive examples of the appropriate use of German vocabulary. If you wonder whether the word you know is the best possible choice, check it here. If you know a couple words that to you are perfect synonyms, the Stilwörterbuch will clarify the precise meaning they convey and how to use them. Not sure of which preposition follows, or of more complex idiomatic usages, this is the place to go. By the time that volume had become too brittle and loose to retain, the pages were well thumbed, and sheer sentimentality made it hard for me to bid it farewell. The other book I purchased with my hard-earned D-Mark was the Bildwörterbuch, the picture dictionary. Before buying it, I found myself returning to the bookstore several times to make use of it. Working in the kitchen of the Hotel für Jahreszeiten, there were things I could not identify. Sometimes I didn't even know the nomenclature in English. But the Bildwörterbuch identified everything visually. Page after page showed automobile parts, dentist offices, kitchens, factory assembly lines, gardens, power plants, Renaissance buildings, and Greek temples, with each component carefully identified with the best German term to identify it. My Bildwörterbuch met the same fate as the Stilwörterbuch. It became loose over the years and to some degree dated, so I donated it to the library in Dublin where I was working. They probably threw it out, saving me the agony of doing so myself. So imagine my delight after moving to Nice, France, when I came across a used Duden publication I'd not known of before, the Bildwörterbuch Französisch und Englisch, English and French Picture Dictionary. The illustrations in the volume identify more than 28,000 objects in German, French, and English. What a find! Its first use, identifying bicycle parts that needed work or replacement after a rough move from Dublin to Nice. Handlebars, c'est un guidon. Valve caps, c'est un capuchon de valve. It's just a shame it was published in 1983 before e-bikes became all the rage. I only ever use online dictionaries, you say. Google Translate is for many a default choice. Some are turning to ChatGPT. I'm not immune to the convenience of online dictionaries and other language tools. Google Translate is especially helpful with slang or neologisms, but I distrust it generally otherwise. Instead, I'll pull out the mobile phone to look up newly encountered French words with word reference. Or if I'm writing and doubt restrains my hand, I might use my newspaper subscriptions, such as Le Figaro, to look up examples of how a word is used. At home, though, I still often stand and walk to the bookcase and pull down one of the few remaining printed dictionaries to set my mind at ease. Most of the traditional language dictionaries I had collected during the course of a lifetime fell victim to downsizing at retirement. There were admittedly too many, some for languages I studied long ago, to be able to better read academic writings rather than to become a speaker of them. Now I wish I'd kept some of them. After all, I still love languages, even if they're harder and harder for me to learn as time goes on. But who knows? Maybe I'll return to learning Italian someday. After all, Italy's just 45 minutes away. And part of the fun will be finding again the ideal printed Italian-English dictionary. Andiamo! Thanks for listening.